Bonjour et bienvenue à ma maison, France. My name is Gene Sandblum. I've lived in Los Angeles my whole life, and while everybody I know is in LA, and LA was so great to me, and I have so many friends there, I was beginning to find that LA people were just becoming impatient, and I was becoming impatient with their impatience. So I was just wanting something different. And I've been in the radio and the music business for over 4 decades, and most of it was in Los Angeles. Um, but I realized that was just not the place I wanted to end up in. And as the business started getting smaller and smaller, I was going to need a plan to escape from LA, so to speak. So I had a house, didn't have really very much equity in it. Um, but I decided if I was going to do something and make an escape from LA, I needed to get the equity up in that house. So for 2 years, starting in 2014, I basically went to Home Depot every weekend. Some weekends I went to Home Depot 3 times. And over the next 2 years, using YouTube, I learned plumbing and electricity and how to rip out floors and how to knock down a wall and how to paint and how to do landscaping and how to build a patio roof. And it, some of the stuff turned out great, some not so great. But the great news is, after 2 years, I really significantly increased the equity in my home. So I sold the house, and then came the question, where am I going to go? And honestly, I've traveled quite a bit. I could have gone to Thailand. I could have gone to Spain. I could have gone just about anywhere. My mind was open to it. Um, I wanted to go somewhere where there was a lot of culture. So while I love the rainforest in Costa Rica, and a lot of people in LA were moving to Costa Rica, I just thought all I'm going to do is sit by the pool and have pina coladas all day. And I needed more than that. So I stumbled across this TV show called House Hunters International. And they went everywhere. But one thing I noticed was that every time they went to France, they would find these old houses. Some of them were kind of falling apart, some were kind of half finished, and they all needed work, but they were really inexpensive. And I thought, if I can find a house like that, then it's going to be just perfect. The irony is, when I was in middle school, all the Spanish classes were full, and I was forced to take French. And I was like, what the hell am I going to do with French? And so it all just kind of came full circle at that point. So 2016, I came over here, looked at houses, bought a house, all within 9 days. And if you can come over here with cash to buy a house, it makes everything so much easier. I will say, will France live up to its notoriety of quality of life? And I can tell you, this country is unbelievably beautiful. I'm a huge backpacker and hiker. I've done the John Muir Trail twice. I love green and beauty, and I am constantly amazed at how beautiful this country is. It's not only beautiful because it's so green and there's so many mountains and rivers, you can go skiing here, uh, but France is just has historical beauty as well, which is something you're just not going to find in the United States. The food here is absolutely nuts. You will stop whatever you're doing every day at around 12:30 for an hour and a half to 2 hours, because everybody else is too. So don't get mad that the market's closed. You go have lunch just like everybody else does. So and just even going to the supermarket here, or going to the local farmers market, the prices here are far cheaper than you would find for comparable quality of food in the US, certainly in LA. There's also a respect here that is awesome. You start every conversation with bonjour, as a greeting, no matter where you are, in the supermarket, in a restaurant, at the gas station. That's just what you do. And I actually, when I go back to LA now, I find myself stopping and saying hello to people at the beginning of any conversation. Half the time they look at me like, okay. And here, it's just, you won't even get noticed if you don't do it. And then finally, I will tell you the cost here is absolutely fantastic. My property taxes here compared to the house I had in Los Angeles is about 15% of what I paid there. And so many other things here. It's just, it allows you to live a really good life without going broke. So 6 years in, I bought this house and I've just been slowly making it my own. The house is on 2 acres. It feels bigger than that because I'm surrounded by neighbors that have like 10 acres. I live in a hamlet. I don't have a street address. You simply have a thing called lieu dit, which means a place called. So when someone wants to send you something, or you call, you put an Amazon order in, they come to your hamlet and they look for your name on the mailbox, because in my hamlet, there are only 4 other people here. So it's not that hard once you get to my hamlet to find out where I live. The house has a pool. It has 100 oak trees. And just as you'll see, as I show the house off and I show the yard off over the next few videos, just how incredibly green it is. It's just insanely green. So the house itself was built 200 years ago, right about the time that Napoleon was marching his troops through this area on the way to the Peninsular War in Spain. And I'm always thinking about what the history was for this house, and who lived here. It's basically 2.5 stories. So I'm sure that the downstairs area where the bedroom is right now used to be where they kept the animals. And there's a faucet here that I'm sure that they somehow tied. There's a stream on the property. Somehow they managed to get the water into the house. All the cooking was done on the fireplace, on the hearth. There are still some pots and pans in there. So it's really, when people say, when you leave for a long period of time, are you worried about the house? And I'm like, well, the walls are 2 feet thick and it's been here 200 years. So I'm not that worried about the house. Now, having said that, and I just came back from visiting friends in LA for a few months, I'm not worried about the house, but I am worried about the yard. This area is insane. I would plant a tree in LA and 5 years later, the tree would be smaller. Here, things grow so fast because there's rain and sun and rain and sun and rain and sun. And the grass here in 1 week can easily grow about 2 to 3 inches. And so it needs constant attention. So let's go in, let's check out the house, and let's see what the yard has in store for us. One of the biggest problems I've had here in France is when you're looking for furniture, everything is very modern. And I was trying to find vintage furniture to go in a vintage house, and it's not easy. One of the stores I found here that tends to have things that look older, is a store called Maison du Monde. It's a European chain, and these chairs, which look like old club chairs, were from Maison du Monde. And this couch also, which I don't really know how you would describe it other than maybe early Moulin Rouge. I thought it looked really French. It was just the right size for the room, and it does look like it could be vintage. So for me, it kind of solved the last of the furniture problems in the room. This rug I bought online. It comes from Persia, Iran, and the table here is just from Morocco. The fireplace is just brilliant in the winter. It's get the fire going. It's just the classic fireplace. You can see on the left what is probably an oil canister for olive oil. Could have been for wine, but I really think it was for olive oil. And then there are some pans here that could be used on the hearth. All 200 years ago, all the cooking was done right here. For the summertime, though, I just light the candles. It doesn't overheat the room, and it makes it just very comfortable and yet gives you the feeling of having fire. Um, I got this on the top of the fireplace. Originally was an axe. I really am a fan of Jules Verne, so I thought a telescope really kind of brought that home. So I found a 200-year-old telescope on eBay and got that for above the fireplace. You can see these walls are just amazing. I don't have anything on these rock walls except this one painting, because if you look at these walls, I think they're art in itself. And to cover them up with stuff, I think it's just crazy. But I was in Quito, Ecuador, and I went to this museum from an artist called Guizeman, and I just absolutely fell in love with this work. This painting is called Tenderness, and I thought that it just is so unique, and it just is a very comfortable painting for a house like this. Down here, these tables were from Southeast Asia. They're about 100 years old. So that would have been Indochina, which was French China back in the colonial days in Laos and Vietnam. And I thought they fit the idea of the oldness of the house pretty well. So I think that was a win. The Tiffany lamp comes from Amazon.com. Great views outside. Let's see if we can get it to focus. Of the church, which is 800 years old, which is just absolutely beautiful in the afternoon when the sun hits it. And they even light it up at night, which is really, really beautiful. You can see the 2-foot thick walls here. Just keeps the house really cool in the summertime, warm in the wintertime once you heat it up. So heating it up is this wood stove. It's classic. Right outside the front door, I keep stacks of firewood, and it eats up the firewood. It really does, though, keep the house really nice and warm in the winter. You just got to get up early and stoke it and get it going. I had mentioned that there was a faucet here in the house. This sink area is completely unique for a 200-year-old house. There is a stream on the property, and I'm guessing at some point they found a way to either fill up a tank with water outside, and then they could use it inside here. You can see that stopper at the bottom of the sink there. Outside the house is a rock overhang, so when the water came out of here, it wouldn't have gone down the side of the house. It would kind of have just gone out into the midair. These curtains, they're purple. Oh, dirt there. Let me try this one. Yeah, this is better. From Restoration Hardware in the United States. I tried to find the curtains here like this. These are velvet curtains. I thought this really had a deep, old school French look to it. And so I came over here, measured the windows, and then I had them made in the United States. And then when they were done, I snuck them over here in my skis. I was on a ski trip, and I wrapped my skis in the curtains. And boy, did I get looks from the Air France check-in agent when she's like, wow, these are the heaviest skis I've ever seen. Right across the way there, our neighbor has 2 horses, which are just so beautiful. These two horses love each other so much. They just, if one horse goes around to the other side of the field, the other horse follows them, and they just stay together 24/7. It's just so much fun to watch them. They have really a good time out there just eating the grass. Again, you can see the 2-foot thick walls here. And then the floors here were tile. When I was having the guest house made, I loved how the wood floors looked so much. These floors were really hard to find. I wanted, again, floors that looked old. So we found these, and then we bought double the amount, and we had this room done at the exact same time. It's just so much easier when you're having work done if you can double what you're doing as opposed to having to go out and find somebody from scratch. It's a lot of work finding workers here. Um, they're really quality work, but they're just always busy. Another lamp from Amazon. This phone I got last year in Sri Lanka. I thought this was so cool. I was just at a little trinket shop, and this was sitting on the counter, and I'm like, I will never find another phone like this. So lugged that all the way back from there. This gramophone and this hutch came from India. Shipping stuff from India is not for the faint-hearted. In a future podcast episode here, I will mention the process that you have to go through, from filling out the paperwork, what happens when it arrives, how much it's going to cost you, what the insurance is, what the duties are, because at some point, if you're going to go live in France or any foreign country, you're going to have to do some shipping. So I'll help you through that, but that's really a long discussion in itself. Right here is a table that I got from the Himalayas as well. This used to be the desk in my office in Los Angeles. It's an old door from the Himalayas. Over here is the kitchen, and it's the original kitchen. Didn't do anything to it. It really small fridge, microwave, dishwasher, oven stove. It needs a lot, but it's very functional, especially for one or two people. And so it's just down on the priority list. Very much inspired by Jules Verne. Uh, I love this spiral staircase. It's highly functional, and yet it gives you that steampunk look, which I think is just so cool. And just as a little nod to Jules Verne, I put up here a French periodic table of elements, just very subtle nod. So going down the stairs to the bathroom and bedroom. So this wall is essentially underground on this one side of the house. So it tends to get rather damp here, which is why the floors here I'm keeping tile. They're just easier to clean, and they're in periods of extreme rain, the ground behind this wall gets saturated and the floors here can actually get wet. And I don't want to ruin a perfectly good wood floor just because of water damage. I actually had 2 humidifiers installed downstairs here that run virtually constantly to keep all the moisture down in the area. This telephone is a Wi-Fi phone. It actually works. It's the house phone. I keep it downstairs because virtually all the telephone calls that I get here are sales calls. The only phone number I give out is my cell number. So the bathroom pretty much exists the way it was when I bought the house. Just added a few things to it. This blue totem came from Mozambique. Some of these masks came from just some other Worldcraft stores. This particular radiator right here is awesome. Heats up the bathroom in like 2 minutes. Really beautiful view again outside the window here. The field across the way. Very simple. Toilet, shower. I had a new water heater and electricity installed when I moved in. One thing that's really important is the electrical wiring in in homes in France. A chateau just down the road burned down 2 weeks ago because they never got around to replacing the wiring in the house. So just when they were doing the guest house, I asked the electrician to go ahead and redo the wiring in the main house as well, just for peace of mind. The washer dryer is in the bathroom, which is just something you're going to find pretty much all over Europe. That's where the water comes in and the sewer goes out. So they very, very rarely have a second room, which would be a laundry room. You will either find just a washing machine or a washer dryer combo. The washer dryer combo, which is what this is, I had to replace the one that came with the house. It broke down pretty quick. They're really funny. They take forever to do one load, and your loads come out just kind of damp all the time, but you just get used to it after a while. You throw the stuff on the bed and you open the window, and everything is completely dry within about 35, 40 minutes. You will find clothes on the lines all over France. A lot of people just only have washers, and so you go and put your clothes on the clothesline, old-fashioned way. Now let's go check out and open the bedroom. Anytime I plan on being away for more than a few months, everything goes into vacuum bags, and that includes the mattress. A little more work before you go means a lot less work when you come back to the house. This screen from India, I was camping in Big Sur, California, and there's this really cool restaurant there called Nepenthe, which is on a cliff that overlooks the ocean. And right next door is this world store. It just has everything in it was imported from all over the world. I found it in that store, and then I couldn't get it in the car. I had to drive all the way back to LA and then come back a couple weeks later in a rent-a-car just because it wouldn't fit in my Jeep. This mask I got in Lhasa, Tibet. It looks super scary, but it's actually good luck because it scares away all the evil spirits. And it's very old. You can find these masks all over the place. I bought it off a guy on the street, and you can tell this has been around for a while. The bed came from Indonesia, brought it over from Los Angeles, made from hardwood. Here's a bookshelf that has all my travel books on it. So at night, before I go to bed, I can sit and dream about going somewhere. The water wheel here is another antique I picked up at some shop. Over here, uh, Alexa, Morocco on. So they do have Alexa here, and it is highly functional. You can just take your Alexa from the US or any other country and plug it in here, and it works fine. You don't have to do any other adjustments. They are, Alexas, by the way, are 110 and 220 capable, so you just need a plug adapter, that's all. And I think I got these two things from Big Sur as well. This is another thing I had shipped over from India. I thought it was pretty cool, and it's great for storage. And the fact that the bars are in the middle uh, allows air inside. A lot of the wood furniture here, in the dampness, the drawers will become glued shut uh, because of expansion and contraction. Here, having that openness there really makes it easier to keep it dried out. Just a rug and a bench from, I think, Cost Plus. Very functional closet. It is exactly as it was. The house came, and then this dresser was here in the house as well. So let's go take a look upstairs. So I originally had no plans of building a guest house here. There was a utility room on the side of the house that I thought I could have adapted into a guest house, but it just was unadaptable, so it had to be leveled to build it. Um, I thought this room was more usable than it was. It's just very low ceilings. So there's a lot of ducking going on here for anybody over 4 feet tall. But for kids, it's perfect. And it gives you a view of the downstairs. So as much as I'd like to set up the patio, looking at the wood on this trellis, it's just screaming for stain. And if I wait and set everything up, then I'm just going to drip stain over everything. So unfortunately, I have a project before I can do a project. Finished. Not only does it look better, but it'll keep the wood from rotting. As I said, it gets so much rain here and followed by sun. So sun, rain, sun, rain. And then there's also the wind too. I tried putting plastic sheets on the top of this roof at first, when I first had the roof built 6 years ago, and it blew off every year. These Adirondack chairs basically serve two purposes. One is for a view of the 800-year-old church every afternoon, and then secondly, for the incredible view of the skies. The skies here are absolutely unbelievable. They have just millions of stars. You can see satellites racing by at night, and you can even see the space station go by. It's absolutely clear, and because there's just so little unnatural light here at night, it's very dark and perfect for stargazing. This is just some couches I brought over from the US, as well as the rug. The little dining room table here was a dining room table I bought just at a little knick-knack store in the local town of Cahors. It was this really awkward height that you couldn't really eat at. It was just too high, so I just took the legs off and put these cubes underneath, and it actually turned into a much better coffee table. This table over here used to be the kitchen table. When I moved into the house, after I bought it, I paid the previous owners €1,000 for all their furniture. It wasn't really my taste, but it allowed me to move into the house immediately. This house was fully furnished, and over the course of the last 6 years, I've been putting my own stuff in and casually taking the old stuff, giving it away, or taking it to the dump, better known as the déchetterie. So I stained this a darker wood. I thought it fit the farmhouse style a little better. And I painted the chairs red, just as in the house, I painted those chairs red as well. These were all chairs that were here on the property, and they just didn't really fit my style, and I ended up buying a red couch. It only came in 2 colors, and the only color that made any sense was red. So I decided to just start painting everything else red, so that it matched. So probably the most colorful house I've ever had, with purple curtains, blue beams, and red chairs. I would have never done this anywhere in Los Angeles. I brought this cabinet over from the US as well, and there it had been imported from Indonesia. It weighs a ton, made out of very hard wood. It takes 2 people to move it just about 6 inches. It's just so heavy. And these little friends on top there, just some handicrafts that I picked up in Guatemala, except for the chicken, and I can't remember where I bought the chicken. It's the odd bird out, so to speak, here in the mix, but just add a little bit of fun to the outside area. These walls here are completely redone. I redid these myself last year. They had this really thick stucco on them, and then this wall was completely covered in wood. It wasn't quite paneling. It wasn't quite beams. It was kind of this, the wood looked like it was part of a tree all across here. I finally got brave enough one day to peel one of them back. The creatures that were living behind it were pretty scary, but I ended up pulling all the wood out and then completely putting a coating on the wall and grinding it down with a grinder so that it matched the style of the wall here and over here, and then painted it this cream color. Most of these walls here were done in a yellow and red. As a matter of fact, you can still see some of the red left here on this low wall and over here. And those, this year, I'm going to be also grinding down, putting a coating on, and painting this same cream color here, which I think kind of matches the color of the house. So while I may be adding some colors to the house with the furniture, I'm getting rid of some of the colors that were here before that. These beams up here were just natural wood, and they were pretty deteriorated. So last 2 years ago, we sanded them down and painted them the same colors as the beams in the house. The color, when I first walked into the house, of the beams, the first thing the real estate agent said was, oh, you know, you can paint over those. And never in a million years would I choose this color, but the fact it was already here kind of made it feel like it predated me so heavily that I thought that it just belonged here. So we've been getting braver in adding more and more of this color to the house as we go along, and I think it looks pretty good, and I think it helps tie everything together. Thanks very much for stopping by. I've collected a lot of information on what it's like to move to France or move to any other country over the last 6 years, and I'll be passing that along over the next few weeks. Next week, we're going to open up the swimming pool. I'll tell you a little bit about what it was like dealing with real estate agents here and what a home search is like in France. And my daughter's coming, so I got to get the guest house ready. So all that's coming up next week.